Hello, you're watching Broadcasting Scotland, and this is the Full Scottish. Today's programme is a tale of two cities, or rather of one city and two events. Yesterday we went to Stirling as 15,000 people joined the annual march to commemorate the Battle of Bannockburn and campaign for Scottish independence. The very unusual march route followed back roads from the King's Park to the Bannockburn Monument, missing completely Stirling town centre and the route which the march has traditionally followed. This choice would seem to be disrespectful of the history of Stirling and those who gathered there yesterday to mark one of the most important events in Scotland's history. Our film followed the march to the Bannockburn Monument. Decide to yourself how important or how appropriate the choice of route was.
Must be.
The second event in Stirling is the fantastic Bloody Scotland Crime Writing Festival, which takes place from the 21st to 23rd of September. A few weeks ago, we were at the Bloody Scotland programme launch at the Golden Lion Hotel. Speaking at the launch were the Provost of Stirling, Christine Simpson, as well as Alexander McCall-Smith, and Chairman of Bloody Scotland, Bob McDevitt.
We're in Stirling at the Golden Lion Hotel for the launch of Bloody Scotland, Scotland's international crime writing festival.
Hello at the back. Good afternoon and welcome to the Golden Lion Hotel here in Stirling for the launch of the 7th Bloody Scotland Crime Festival. Hooray! It's a real thing, look! It's an actual programme, yes. My name is Bob McDevitt, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm Director of the festival. In a moment we're going to hear from Alexander McCall-Smith, one of Scotland's most popular authors, who's going to be talking about 20 years, can you believe it, 20 years of the #1 ladies detective agency books. First of all, we're going to hear from Christine Simpson, the Provost of Stirling. And I'd just like to take a quick moment to say a huge thank you to Christine and to the rest of the team at Stirling Council, who continue to be enthusiastic and valued supporters, and Bloody Scotland looks forward very much to working with them in the run up to this year's festival. I'd also at this moment like to thank Creative Scotland, without whom whose funding the festival simply wouldn't happen. Stirling Gin, who are providing today's cocktails. I hope you've had a chance to taste a bit of that. I'd like to say thanks to Cameron and all the team at Stirling Gin. They're going to have a very busy year opening their distillery up the road. We welcome a few new sponsors this year. We've got H.W. Fisher, who join the University of Stirling, the Faculty of Advocates, the Open University, the Sunday Times Crime Club, Headline Publishing and the Crime Vault as event sponsors this year. A big thank you to them all, and also to Waterstones, who once again are going to be the festival bookseller. They provide, continue to provide support for the Macavani Prize across the summer, and also provide a venue for our London launch tomorrow, which is at Piccadilly in Stirling. But for now, please give a very warm welcome to the Provost of Stirling, Christine Simpson.
Right, good afternoon. It is afternoon. No, it's still morning for many days.
Just afternoon.
Hello. Welcome to Stirling and to the Golden Lion Hotel, which is actually an important landmark in our town centre. And it was built in the 1780s, and it was called the Gibbs Tavern and Lodgings, where it was a principal hotel in Stirling, catering for coaches going north to Perth. So there's an interesting fact. I'd also hoped that Val McDermott would be here today, because today is her birthday, and I thought that we could all sing happy birthday to her, but she's not here. But if anybody's in touch with her later on today, please give her my good birthday wishes. So, I am honoured to take part in the launch of this year's Bloody Scotland Crime Writing Festival. I know that this is a tremendous event. It's very exciting, it's very lively, it's very stimulating, and I can't wait for September. An event like this, of course, takes a huge amount of work to deliver successfully, and I'd like to thank Bob and his team and the organisers, including our own Stirling Council officers, Fiona Buchanan and Tara Kildare, for all the hard work that they have taken to make this happen. Bloody Scotland was actually born in Stirling, and 2018 is its 7th year, and this has become a key event in Stirling's calendar. We welcome its fans and the visitors it brings to our city, and we are delighted to see it once again taking over Stirling for a weekend of crime. Or should I rephrase that, weekend of crime fiction. Its varied and innovative programme, which I think we've all got the opportunity to look at now, with a cast of stellar authors who are accessible to the public, and that's very important. I think that the fans can actually sit in on talks and question the authors and get more insight into their work. I think that's one of the most important features of this event. So Bloody Scotland and Stirling Council are working in an ever closer partnership involving local businesses, as we've just heard, the media, to bring a real sense of festival to the whole of Stirling in September. 2017 was Bloody Scotland's biggest festival yet in terms of ticket sales, and the aspiration is for 2018 to surpass these figures. The Torchlit procession, which I think was an innovation last year, wasn't it? was very popular, with a lot of local people taking part. And once again, it will be the highlight of this year's opening celebrations. Bloody Scotland continues to look outwards, and this year is the most international festival yet, with more than a dozen countries represented in the programme. And another highlight is the Scotland versus England football match on Cowan's Hospital's historic bowling green just up the road. Now, when I mentioned the outcome of the previous event at last year's lunch, there was a kind of low muttering. Obviously a sensitive subject, so I won't dwell on it, but if you see the smile on my face, then that'll give you a clue as to who won last year. And what I can tell you about that is, having watched some of our most distinguished authors disport themselves on the muddy lawn, writing talent does not correlate with talented. I'm not looking at anybody in particular. So, when you get the programme, go forth, spread the word about what we're going to get in September this year. Let's see if we can break the record for attendance in 2018. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Alexander McCall-Smith.
Thank you very much indeed, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be very brief because I'm going to be talking at greater length upstairs in the conversation with Lynn. Well, she's going to be talking as well. So I won't say too much now, other than to say how delighted I am to participate in the launch of this the programme for this year's festival. This festival really has been such a success. Just about everywhere has a literary festival now. There's been a real proliferation of literary festivals. And many of them, most of them in fact, make it, which is very nice. One or two fall by the wayside, but most of them make it. And then there are some that really do very well. And this is in that happy category of extremely successful festivals. I think it's very important for a festival, if it really wants to make its presence felt amongst the many festivals, to have some particular selling point. And crime in has proven to be a very, very good decision. I've been to a number of the specialized crime conventions in the United States. They have 3 or 4 that are particularly well known there. And there's a bit of a circuit of them. And one I remember going to in Indiana some years ago had about 350 people attending it, and they were mostly ladies. it was quite remarkable that Midwestern ladies seemed to like a good murder, and there they were. And it's the only conference that I've ever been to where more or less the entire audience was knitting throughout. They sat there, and they all were knitting like the tricoteurs in the French Revolution. And they were also all wearing hats, many of them hats that they'd knitted at the last crying event. But they were wonderful, wonderful people. The provost mentioned that one of the good things about a literary festival is for readers to be able to talk to authors and authors to be able to talk to readers. And again, that's something which I think is absolutely right. Readers do enjoy making comments to authors. Generally speaking, as I rather suspect many of the authors present here today will agree, these comments are suggestions of one sort or another, and some of them can be fairly radical suggestions about how you might dispose of your characters in future books, that sort of thing. My greatest experience was in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple of years ago. This lady came up to me in the signing queue, and she was trying to be friendly. You know, her intention was definitely friendly, but she looked at me, pointed to me, and she said, "Let me tell you something. You're going to be much more successful posthumously." Which is encouraging. And I suppose in the case of crime writers, that's a particular compliment. But I hope that this year is going to be as successful as the other years. And congratulations to Lynn and Sandra and Bob, for everybody who makes this festival of crime literature such an important and valued and enjoyable one. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Okay, so on to this year's programme. We're once again taking over 3 venues in Stirling. We're going to have events here at the Golden Lion, at the Albert Halls, and the Allen Park South Church again. Our gala opening this year and the announcement of the winner of the McIlvanney Prize is going to take place up at the Church of the Holyrood. And we're once again going to follow that with a torchlight procession from the church down to the Albert Halls, where 2 of the biggest names in crime fiction, Val McDermid and Denise Miner, will be in conversation. Val's going to have a pretty busy night on the Friday night, as she'll then be joining her merry band of fun-loving crime writers for a full-length set. We had a sort of short set from them last year, but this year you're getting the full Monty. Not the full Monty. The full Monty in terms of musically. They've been honing their sound this year and adding new material since their first appearance, and have become somewhat of a fixture on the festival scene, playing gigs in London, Reykjavik and Glenrothes. Get to see them again. We're very excited to be welcoming Frank Gardner to the festival, the distinguished BBC foreign correspondent turned novelist. He's going to be discussing his thrillers which draw from the sort of murky political times that we live in. And Frank's not the only nod to current affairs in the programme this year. We've got a session on the Time's Up movement and what it means for the depiction of violence against women in crime fiction, and a session on breaking barriers, where writers will look at issues surrounding race, class, gender, and sexuality. Now, if my language skills were better, I could deliver the next part of my preview in one of the many languages spoken in the 14 countries, I think it is actually. It's 14 this year. We have a very special partnership with the Word Festival in Christchurch in New Zealand, and we'll be welcoming Fiona Sussman and Paul Cleave, 2 very distinguished Kiwi writers, and both winners of their Niall Marsh Prize, which is given every year. I must thank Creative New Zealand for their funding to help bring those writers across. And Denise Miner, our winner of the McIlvanney Prize last year, is going over to Christchurch in August, so she's going to tell us all about her trip at a special event at the festival. From Canada, we have the best-selling author Louise Penny, who's going to be appearing at the Albert Halls in conversation with Anne Cleese and Alex Gray. We've got Teresa Solana from Spain, Simone Buchholz from Germany, and Sandro Ndazieri from Italy, bidding a fond farewell to the EU. This is the last Bloody Scotland before we apparently leave the EU in March next year. And we've got our traditional brace of Chile, Scandi-Icelandic authors in the shape of Ragnar Jónasson, Lilia Sigurdardóttir and Christopher Carlson. And Christopher's also going to be making a few visits to some Stirling high schools as part of our YA programme, which we started last year. The Albert Halls will see the return of Bloody Scotland favourites such as Peter James, Stuart McBride, Quentin Jardine and Denzel Merrick. Bloody Scotland board members Lynn Anderson and Craig Robertson will be spending their session at the Albert Halls on the psychologist's couch with Dr. Cathy Charles. We've noticed over the past few years that along with the crime fiction, our readers like a little bit of non-fiction mixed in there, and this year's no different. We've got a gripping double murder investigation from Simon Cox. We've got two fascinating forensic scientists, Dr. Richard Shepherd and Professor Sue Black, who have both spent their lives surrounded by death. And we have Kate Bendelow, who will be using her book, The Real CSI, to pick apart the work of Mark Billingham and Martin Waits. Bloody Scotland has various strands to encourage and indeed discover new writers and emerging talent. Our spotlight sessions have proved very popular in recent years, giving emerging writers a few minutes at the start of our Albert Hall sessions. And our Pitch Perfect session once again has delivered, and we welcome Alison Belsham, who won the Pitch Perfect session 2 years ago, back onto the programme this year with her debut thriller, The Tattoo Thief. As I mentioned earlier, Alex will be introducing 4 brilliant new writers: Alan Parks, no relation to the venue, Olga Wojcias, Olivia Kiernan and Amar Anwar, and we'll also be featuring the debut novel from Ambrose Parry. Who's that? I hear you cry. Well, it is none other than Chris Brookmeyer, who, along with his wife, Dr. Marissa Hitzman, has delivered a brilliant historical novel set in the medical community in 1840s Edinburgh. There are a lot of refreshing developments in TV adaptations this year, and we're looking forward to welcoming 2 authors, MC Beaton, who will be appearing with cast members and the crew of our Agatha Raisin series, and Helen Fitzgerald, whose TV adaptation of The Cry will be hitting our screens in the autumn. I'd like to be able to share the exact details of who will be joining them, but as with all good mysteries, we're going to keep you guessing just for a little bit longer, so watch the space on those ones for a further announcement. As well as the small screen, we're going to be exploring our theatrical leanings with a new play from Douglas Skelton, a gritty slice of hard-hitting noir called, thank you, called Carry On Sleuthing Murder at the Nicorage. You're my irony there. And we'll be presenting our first ever musical, an original piece from the pen of Sophie Hannah called The Generalist. If you can imagine a sort of Agatha Christie story scored by Tim Minchin, you'd be on the right sort of track. And having conquered the telly and the theatre, we're closing the festival with a truly global Scottish superstar who will forever be associated with the film adaptation of his book Trainspotting, Irvine Welsh. There was some discussion about whether Irvine was actually a crime writer, but I mean, I've read a few of his books, and to be honest, there's plenty of drug dealing, bent coppers, GBH and robbery to justify the tag. So he will be closing the festival at the Albert Halls. And not to ignore the new digital media universe, we're also going to see the return of the 2 Crime Writers on a Microphone podcast, which was such a success last year. It was such a laugh. I don't know if anyone here was there, but I urge you to go. Their guests this year are going to include Alan Denise, Chris Brookmeyer and Abby Mukherjee. Definitely not to be missed. So I've really just scratched the surface of the programme there. I haven't mentioned that we've got legal thrillers, we've got crime novels with a horror edge, we've got Felix Francis taking over the reins, see what I did there, from his dad, Dick Francis. We've got a celebration of Muriel Spark, we have our quiz, a session on 21st century spies, a session on Brit Noir, family secrets, word-of-mouth bestsellers, and of course, the crime at the coup. It wouldn't be Bloody Scotland without the crime at the coup. So pick up the programme today, charge your glasses, get some more Stirling gin down you. It is after 12 now. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, tweet, do all your social media stuff, and all it remains for me to do now is declare Bloody Scotland 2018 officially launched!
So that was our recent visit to Stirling, one of the most important places in Scottish history and home to one of the most important literary festivals in the world. If you enjoy our programmes, please visit our website at www.broadcastingscotland.scot and consider becoming a Broadcasting Scotland supporter. It's only with your support that we can bring you these programmes. Thank you for watching, see you next time.